Speaker number 3, Tracy Norrell. The Power of Two. The Power of Two, Tracy Norrell.
Let me tell you a little bit about my family history. My name is Tracy. My father's name is Tracy. His father's name was Tracy. Well, you get the idea. I come from a long line of Tracys. It's a tradition that in the lineage, males Tracy. It's the way it's been. So you can imagine my excitement when my firstborn came into this world. I was ready to carry on that tradition. But much to my surprise, it wasn't a boy. Now, lucky for her, the popularity of Tracy has gone down as a male's name and blossomed as a female's name. So that day I broke a family tradition. But that day, that wasn't the only family tradition that I broke. I'll spend a couple of minutes telling you about that in just a minute, but first I want to introduce you to my daughter. My daughter's name is Tracy Dawn Norrell. She was born April 4th, 1998. She has enough power to conquer the world. She has enough grace and elegance to bring peace on earth. She has enough potential to beat Hillary Clinton into the White House. And she has enough strength to win any Olympic medal that she ever sets her mind out for. One word to describe my daughter is unlimited. Now what I'd like you to know is that as much potential as my daughter has, she is only one. She's alone. She is one. Now I want to take you back in her life. She's 3 years old. She's got her cute little soccer outfit on the side of the sideline. The coach waves the little girls into the middle of the field, and they're more interested in the dandelions than they are the soccer ball, right? So she runs out in the middle of the field with all of her little friends, and then the ref comes out and blows his whistle. The sidelines go crazy. Parents screaming and yelling support for their little kids. And in that moment, every little girl in that field has one of two things happen. Some little girls remember the focus that they learned through their coach's words and they run straight for the ball. Other little girls get frightened by all the noise, look at the sideline for the support of their parents and start to run. My Tracy was in that latter. It was that quick before I had a set of arms wrapped around my leg and a face buried in my thigh. In that moment, my daughter was alone. In that moment, my daughter was one. Take you to a couple years later, I'm helping her ride her bicycle. My hand is under the seat. We're moving along. I let go, and what happens? Wobble, wobble, fall. Now, a little bitty bicycle, short girl, not a fall far, but she sits on the curb after she pulls herself up and she hugs her knee. She says, "Daddy, I don't want to go back on that bike again. I want my training wheels." In that moment, she was one. There's other places where she's one. The first time she had a sleepover with her friends and the friends didn't pay enough attention to her, she was upset by that. She felt alone. She was one. Another time, just last weekend, she had a homework packet due, a thick packet that was due on Monday. Yet Saturday was so pretty outside and her friends were at the park just down the road and church and everything on Sunday. Well, she had a tough decision to make. She had some work to get done. And at that moment, she was one. Now, I wanted to tell you about another tradition that I broke the day my daughter was born. You see, my father didn't spend a lot of time telling me, "Tracy, you're good enough and you can do that. Tracy, practice the piano more and one day you can be great at this." My dad didn't spend a lot of extra time because his dad didn't spend a lot of time and his dad didn't spend a lot of time. So the day my daughter was born, I made a commitment to be her support. I was going to stand up for her and push, poke, prod, pull, lift, push, whatever I had to do to give her enough support that she could do what she was fully potential capable of doing. So I made a commitment to be her number 2. Take you back to that soccer field. That little girl's plied to my leg like 7 layers of paint. I get down on my knee and I look into her soft brown eyes and I say, "Sweetheart, I love you so much and I'm so proud of you for being out here. You go out there and you have fun, sweetheart. It's all about fun." And that little girl went out there and she kicked the most goals on anybody on her team. She kicked 5 goals, and I distinctly remember the one that actually made it to the right end of the field. In that moment, she was 2. She was 1 plus the support of another. I was her number 2. That bicycle, we were riding across the parking lot. I let go. Daddy, don't let go. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this, Daddy, sweetie. We have to do this. She rode across the parking lot. She finally made it to the other side. She stood up with her hands in victory, and the only smile bigger than mine was the one on her face. It went from, Daddy, I don't want to do this, to look what I did, because she was 2. Her, plus the persistence of another, I was her number 2. You need number 2s. I need number 2s. When it's time for me to go to the gym, I need a number 2. When it's time for me to file my taxes, I really need a number 2. Think about your life where you've needed a number 2. So, it's good to take. It's good to receive the help of a number 2. But I want to challenge you today. I want you to, Monday morning, go to the water cooler and find somebody who's having difficulty because the sidelines are too loud and they can't finish their soccer game, and you be their number 2. Sometime next week, you lean over the cube wall to somebody who's struggling because they don't have their training wheels on their bike, and you be their number 2. People, listen. I'm your number 2, encouraging you to look around you and find somebody that needs help and be their number 2.
Now could we have an untimed amount of silence while the judges complete and turn in their ballots?